Over the last 6 months, I've been spending less time online and more time with my own mind. It all started last fall when I finally hit a breaking point, and I was just so fed up with wasting away my life behind a screen that I was obsessed with the idea of downgrading to a flip phone. And so one day, I was digging through my family's old things and I found an Alcatel Go Flip 3 at the bottom of one of their cabinets. That same day, I moved my SIM card from my iPhone 6 into that flip phone. And so now it's been 6 months since that day, and I wanted to make a video just sharing my thoughts about how my life has changed since I made that transition. So one of the things that I noticed, which has honestly surprised me because it's so far from what I used to be like, has been an increase in extroversion. There have been times where I was just so excited to be talking to someone that I completely shed that layer of self-awareness that would usually plague me in conversations, especially with strangers, and make me interact in a way that wasn't like truly natural. If you have that hyper-awareness, then you know what I'm talking about. But some of my conversations recently have just been so free-flowing and unrestrained that I'm honestly really surprised. I was even laying in bed the other day and I was like, did I look crazy at the airport yesterday? Because I was talking to this older couple when we were waiting for our flight, and I was so elated to be talking to them, like to the point where I was even sharing things in my pocket journal with them. And just laying in bed, like, I probably looked like I just spent 5 years in a cave and I crawled out and I was just so happy to be interacting with someone. Because at the time, I had completely forgotten that there was anyone else around me. Like, I don't even know how loud I was talking, but I was just so excited to be listening to this guy tell me about his life. He was a veteran cruiser, you know, one of those people that's gone on like 26 cruises, and he's loyal to one of the companies or like cruise lines. And he even gave me a personal contact and cell number to one of the agents he works with, and he's like, she can get you a crazy deal, just tell her that I sent you and she's gonna hook you up. So, you know, it's things like that that comes out of talking to strangers that you can just never replicate online, because online you're just getting your algorithm, but people are carrying gems of knowledge that like you don't even have the purview to imagine because their experiences are just so different. Whereas online, you're likely just hanging out with the circles that already share your interests. And then the other thing has been just an increase in openness and more of a yes attitude. You know, like if my grandma asks me if I want to go for a walk with her, I'm flying out the door like it's some Peter Pan level adventure. In the past, I wouldn't have said yes so eagerly to things like this because I'd be too caught up in my own stuff. But most of the time, my own stuff, quote unquote, was just something on the computer that had captivated my attention for the time being. Or even if it was some personal project or chore, I was just poorly managing it with all the distractions I was falling into so that I didn't have room for any spontaneity. But now, since I've cleared the mud by removing a lot of the unnecessary stuff that I was doing, it's easier for me to manage my own stuff while still being flexible. Okay, now I want to talk about social media and my changing relationship with social media. So the two sites that I frequent are Substack and YouTube. And honestly, I think it's partially an ego relationship because I've never posted on Instagram or TikTok, so I don't have anything tethering me to it. So it's easier for me to forget about those sites. I never had a TikTok, but I do have an Instagram, though it's always had 0 posts. So the only thing that I've really ever done on Instagram was watch the stories of people that I haven't spoken to since high school, or share reels back and forth with 3 people, which does nothing to actually build a friendship. Or occasionally post stories and then check to see who viewed it, even though most of the people are people that I will likely never speak to again in my life. So those were the only active things that I did on Instagram, and then I'd just be swooped away by their reels because their algorithm is really good. And it's funny because I've been on public transport before and I've seen over someone's shoulder, them swiping on Instagram. And their algorithm is something that to me, looks like a waste of time, like teenage boys looking at those pickup videos that are set in like Miami or Las Vegas at night, or like middle-aged people watching videos with that wheezing laugh sound effect. But at the same time, if they saw my feed, they would think that it's a waste of time too. There's just something so heavy and like sloth-like about the energy of Instagram. It feels like you're walking through some thick fog, and the only guiding light you have is like the next post and then the next post. So you keep following down that path, but it's leading you to nowhere. I'm sure it's palpable for anyone, but especially if you step away and come back. But like, for me, I had logged in recently, right, on my computer, and scrolling down my homepage, after just scrolling for 5 posts, my mind got complete amnesia for the original intention that I had for logging on to Instagram. And I just could not remember it. I just couldn't. Like, that was it. It was gone. So I generally try to stay away. Like, checking Instagram out of quote-unquote curiosity is a dangerous game. There's this one account that I follow, and she's on a backpacking trip right now. But even she had a video where she was talking about how the one day where she scrolled as much as she did when she was back home on the backpacking trip, it completely messed up the energy of the day. Like, it made her less curious, it made her less open and like less inspired. It just zapped her energy. So again, I really feel like watching Instagram Reels, it feels like it casts a spell of immobility onto you, and then you're just a passenger down a rabbit hole that the machine has set out for you. And I had mentioned this in another video, but there was research done on TV and brainwaves in the past, and they found that it was something like after 10 seconds or something, it completely changes your brainwaves into more of like a dreamlike state, and you're just more receptive. So it's easier for something that you see online to have influence on you than your parents, who are probably trying to give you good advice and actually care for you. Also, because I don't check Instagram very often anymore, I don't know what the trending sound bites are right now. So I've hung out with my friends, and like they've made references to certain things that like seemed fitting, but I just didn't. I just had to meet them with a blank expression. But for some reason, my mind has been randomly, I don't know if it's purging these out, but I've like been randomly remembering memes that are like 10 years old. The other day I was listening to something important, and suddenly my mind is like, Tati James Charles vitamin gummy controversy. Okay. That was like some 2019 beauty guru internet drama. But anyway, moving on to my relationship with YouTube. I have a custom configuration on my YouTube that hides shorts, and my homepage automatically redirects to just my subscription, so I don't see any recommended videos. And ever since I did that configuration, which I made a video about in case you want to try it too, I haven't taken it off, so I haven't really been watching a lot of YouTube, because you're not going to get a new video from your subscriptions every time you refresh. It'll be like every 3 hours or something, depending on how many people you subscribe to. And even then, not every video is gonna catch your interest. But with the recommendation feed, it's like there's always gonna be something, just by the sheer amount of volume and the algorithm, something will catch your eye. And then for Substack, I do open it, I would say, once or twice a day, maybe more, on my computer. But previously, I was more of a digital hoarder, and it was the same for YouTube too. I would like open a bunch of things in new tabs, and so I'd have like 6 Substack essays open and like 4, YouTube videos that I was intending to watch. But at the same time, whenever I would like read a little bit of it, I would get distracted, and then in my distraction, I would continue to like scroll the main feed, which would lead to me finding more things to like add to the pile up. So then if I actually wanted to read or watch these things that I was like collecting, like I'm some squirrel, it would take me the whole day. So becoming aware of that behavior has made me engage in a more reasonable way It's like, am I gonna read it or not? Just do it or don't do it. Okay, and the other thing is, because my dopamine receptors have slowly been recovering from their blackened electrocution, my desires have been changing on their own. So I've actually been craving more long-form content. It's not something that, previously I would be like, oh, I should read more books, I should do this. But I would just end up scrolling or looking at my phone. No, now it's like I actually want this without having to wrestle with myself. So I've been actually reading more books, and I created this cute little digital bookshelf on my wallpaper with the stuff that I want to read, just as a reminder for me. Because one of the things that I did was I actually took inventory of the books that I currently own and my existing reading pace, which was literally like 2 half-finished books per year. And I realized that it would take me pretty much my lifetime just to finish the books that I already own, not to mention that I was always increasing a list that I have saved of books that I want to read. Like, it's just not, it would have never happened. So if I actually care about getting to the books that I've passively told myself that I want to read one day, I actually have to make an effort to do that. Okay, and the other thing, going back to Substack, I love Substack, and I've read some really good pieces on there. But on Substack, we're all writers, okay? It's like that meme from Victorious. We all do a little writing. But when I read this piece from Harper's Magazine, I was floored with how good the writing was. And, you might be saying, yeah, obviously it went through editors and like this guy's a pro. But, when you're so used to taking in your information, your entertainment from the mainstream options, you kind of forget about these high quality sources. That being said, I have now, for the first time since I was a kid and I was doing like those teen magazines, have gotten myself a print magazine subscription, which to my surprise, it's actually really, really cheap. I don't even know how it's so cheap, but it's only like under $30 for a year of getting magazines sent to you. Guys, come on. I know your last Uber Eats order was more than that. And then another fun thing I found is something that I can only describe as feeling like you have YouTube access, but it's 1940. What I mean by that is, on the Internet Archive, if you have a good launch off point, like this video here, you get recommended the coolest little videos that, like, animations from the 1930s, really old stuff that just like is so far away from the stuff that we see today in media that it's insane. One of the cool things that I found was this 1933 stop motion animation. Insane characters. And then there was another one that I found just by like clicking through some recommendations, and it was called The Hangman, which was another animation, and it takes you through like this parable that teaches you a moral lesson about not standing up for your beliefs and like the danger of keeping your head down. Nobody's writing parables anymore. So this is some really cool stuff. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the next thing that I've been doing with my time. And if you're someone who likes to have a big thought once in a while, okay, you're a thinker, you like to ruminate, you like to reflect, this one is going to be big for you, because Nietzsche actually attributed all of his ideas to this. He said, the only ideas that I've had that are worth having have come from X, okay? And what is X? I'm not talking about Elon Musk here. X is a variable that I've drawn out for long enough now. X equals going for walks. Okay, it's really that simple, but this is a underrated activity. There's a phrase where people say, take a walk, man, when someone's really pent up, or like to prevent them from escalating into a fight or whatever. And sometimes you really need to just take that walk. Like, you need to let your mind breathe and feel the expanse of outside instead of just being like cramped up. indoors where like your thoughts are just hitting the ceiling and then coming right back into your head on a constant loop. And I've developed different games and modes that I get into on these walks. Okay, the first one is called a presence walk, and this makes you feel like so grounded and in the present moment. It's really great. But basically what I do is that when I'm on my walk, I try to occupy my mind and my thoughts with only the things that are physically in front of me. So my head is literally like, oh, there's a bird on that tree. Oh, that tree has acorns. You know, things like that. And when I tell you, it's made me notice so many little things that I would have otherwise just overlooked just by the sheer fact that I put my conscious attention on one thing in front of me. It just helps me notice more depth in things that I would otherwise overlook. Okay, the other one is a God walk. So this is where you start every sentence that you're thinking about with like God, comma. So you're trying to have a spiritual conversation with the higher power. And that's a way to like talk through blockages and problems that you're having in your life. And also trust that there is an intelligent design that will give you clarity in its own time. Okay, and the last one is called a writer walk. So this is when I go on a long walk on a road that I know very well and is very easy to walk without having to pay attention to traffic or anything like that. And I bring my old iPhone, which literally does not have any text, calls, or any connection to anything that requires Wi-Fi or data. And I open the Notes app and I just type it out as I'm walking. So those are just some little things that I developed as like mental activities during my walks. And the next thing that I want to talk about is aesthetic changes. So how my appearance has changed and how my approach to wellness has changed through this downgrading journey. So unfortunately, one thing that I noticed about myself is that a lot of my problems had very simple solutions, but I just never sat down and thought about it or like let myself experiment with things. So one of the things actually ties back into walking, but basically I was telling myself that I need to start running again and like I need to run at least like once a week or something. But then I went for a walk and the realization dawned on me that like, why am I constantly forcing myself or like trying to work myself up into running when I don't even like running, honestly. I much prefer walking, and if I walk a few times every week, that will probably be the equivalent of the rare running that I would be able to get myself to do. If not, walking would actually end up being better because I would have more consistency and frequency to it, where running, like, I dread it and I didn't want to do it. That's not to say that I would never run again. It's just that I was trying to force myself into something that wasn't my preference when there were other alternatives that could have an equal impact on my well-being, if not better, because they're more attuned to what I actually want to do. Also, my sense of style has changed. I've been going to thrift stores and I've been testing out different looks, like if those trendy baggy low rises look good on me, they don't. And I've been also taking inspiration from what I see other people wearing. So like when I'm walking around the city, I see a lot of cool outfits. Like I saw this girl bringing back this like grunge look of black tights with shorts, jean shorts, and then Converse. And like the next day I tried that on and I really liked it. And you know what's crazy? I feel like you're in a transitional period when your clothes that you've always worn and have had for so many years no longer feel like you. Like, you don't want to wear them anymore. They're not saying what you want them to say. So right now I've been more interested in brighter colors, whereas my long-lasting existing wardrobe is a lot of neutrals, a lot of browns, a lot of beige. But right now I love deep blue and red. So I really feel like that mirrors my internal shift. Also, in 2024 and 2025, I made vision boards for the new year, and I always set them as my wallpaper on my computer. And right now, my wallpaper was just like whatever the Mac OS, landscapes are. But I remember that, and I put together a new mood board that I set as my wallpaper. And when I tell you, this versus what I used to create does not even look like it was done by the same person. That's how much my aesthetics have changed. Like, I'll show you what I had then versus what I have now, and I'm gonna redact some of them that are a little like too personal and revealing than what I'm comfortable sharing, but honestly, it does not look like these were done by the same person. And you may prefer the old one compared to the new one, but to me, the old one and the new one are like saying really different things. Like, to me, the old one looks like someone who really wants a lot out of life. Like, they're really trying to take in a lot more than they currently have. But then the one on the right, the new one, that's like, this bitch is up to something. Like, she knows what she's doing. You know what I mean? I mean, that's how I feel when I look at it. And I do think that I've also been gaining more confidence in myself, as well as being more content and appreciative of the unique features that I do have. And at the same time, I've been seeing so much beauty in other people. And I truly think that the amount of time that I had previously spent on Instagram had imprinted some template into my brain, because a lot of the time the viral reels are really attractive girls, especially if your feed has a lot of fashion and makeup stuff. And a lot of people say that people look the same now, and I truly think there's this metaphysical template that's in our minds as a result of this, and I've finally begun to shed it, and I'm seeing people differently. How old people always tell young people they're beautiful? I feel like I'm seeing things through their eyes now, and they were really perceiving beauty that I didn't see until now. What if I told you that living with a flip phone is stupid easy, because there's a magical panic button that you can press to get all of your smartphone features back if you're ever stuck in a situation where you feel like you really need it. Alright, so here's what I'm talking about. Flip phones have internet sharing too, okay? You can turn on a hotspot, and then if you have your old smartphone with you, you can connect to that hotspot, so then, essentially your smartphone is back for the time being. So I did use this when I was traveling and I wanted to call an Uber from the airport. I just turned on the hotspot, connected to it, and then I could order an Uber through my old iPhone. And on the topic of car services, I have actually used local taxi services for the first time because of my switch, and every time that I go from my home to the airport, I call the local company, and they actually give a better deal than what you get on rideshare apps. When I call them, I ask them what the rate is going to be, and it's always the same number. That's $10 lower than what I would usually get when I would use the rideshare app. But when I need to do something I have a work trip, right, and they reimburse you for your Uber ride, but you have to show them the receipt. So I'm not going to make it more complicated for myself to get the receipt and get my money from my company. I'm just going to turn on my hotspot from my flip phone and call it a day. So if I'm traveling to a new state and I didn't meticulously plan everything about my trip beforehand, I'm not going to do for a work trip, because I don't want to be giving work any more of my energy than I already do, then I'm just going to use this hotspot method. But I truly enjoy navigating with just written directions in my notebook. And I live in a walkable city, so I can get away with that. I'm not saying write down directions when you're driving. That's insane. But navigating with written directions makes me so much more attentive, alert, and engaged with my environment. It's really like giving yourself a mini puzzle to solve. And I feel like it also helps strengthen you mentally, because because I feel like, okay, I know that I was able to accomplish that, even though I may have gotten a little confused at one point, but I was able to just use my brain to figure things out. So when I encounter other challenges in other aspects of my life, I have that reinforcement that I've conquered other challenges, so I can take this one up too. So this is gonna sound ironic, but I'm actually using my old iPhone right now, and this is what my screen time looks like on the iPhone. It just is the best thing that I have for capturing audio. At one point, I had gotten one of those cheap clip-on mics, but for some reason, maybe it was the one that I got, it sounded worse than this. This channel is just a hobby for me. I'm not going to be investing in one of those podcast mics. I still have everything blocked on it, as I explained in my turn your iPhone into a dumb phone video, because I don't trust myself not to get lost in the sauce. But yeah, some other things that I've been using my iPhone for when I need to take a clear picture. If I need to take a picture of a receipt or some document, because if someone needs a picture of my driver's license, I'm not going to send them a liminal space, grimy, blue-toned picture that my Alcatel Go Flip 3 took. But as for personal photography, I actually found an old film camera that my family had. So I've been taking pictures on that, and I recently bought a digital camera from eBay. It's a Nikon Coolpix. They're actually under $100. They do everything you could ever want for like 2010s digital camera flash photos. Okay, so if you made it this far into the video, you're probably interested in downgrading. Otherwise, you wouldn't still be here. So I highly encourage you to give it a try. And honestly, it only takes a week to get adjusted with the new lifestyle and figure out how to do things differently. And then after that, it's kind of business as usual. You even kind of start to forget that you're doing something that's considered different. So let me know in the comments what your thoughts were on this video and what your personal downgrading journey looks like.